All right, I am here with Jill Morris, and I want to thank Jill right off the top for joining me for this chat. And Jill, you've been in the program for about 5 months, is that correct?
Yep, coming up for 5 months. Yep.
Coming up in 5 months. All right, why don't you tell us just like where you were before you started the program, a little bit about your story.
Okay. Um, for the 4 years before I found you, I'd been struggling with a mobility issue, whereby my back was going into spasm. The muscles were tightening on one side. My torso was very twisted. I'd gone from being really active to not being able to walk 100 yards without having to stop. Basically, I was stuck at home. I was not comfortable standing. I was not comfortable sitting. And eventually I started to get sciatic pain as well. And I'd had that for over a year by the time I met you. And I was just told it was a flare up of the previous thing that was going on. And I was given painkillers, more painkillers, more painkillers, and I was getting nowhere.
And just to add to that list, you're also having a lot of trouble sitting, correct?
Oh, I wasn't comfortable anywhere. I couldn't sit because my back would go into spasm and I had the sciatic pain and I couldn't stand up and I couldn't lay down. I basically had nowhere to be from the moment I got up until I went to bed, and going to bed was uncomfortable because I couldn't lay properly because my back would go into spasm, my back would tighten, my torso would twist, I couldn't lay flat, I couldn't get to sleep. I had nowhere to go where I could be comfortable for even 2 minutes. I couldn't relax at all.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that after 5 months, that is all gone and everything is great. But why don't you tell us like where you are 5 months later?
Okay, 5 months later, I'm sitting here pretty comfortably. I'm walking a little bit. I can go for long periods of time without even thinking about my problem. It's not painful anymore. The sciatic pain is absolutely a thing of the past. That's gone. And I know what to do with it should it ever come back. But I feel like I'm getting on with my life. I still can't do everything I want to do, but every day gets easier. And I just feel so much more comfortable in my body. I haven't taken any painkillers for months. And yeah, I even forget to do my exercises someday because you only think about these things when you have a problem, and quite often I just forget to do my exercises. So I think that probably says a lot.
Yeah, that's really great. And also just to be clear, like with no illusions, you've had a couple of times where, and a couple of sessions where everything was going really well, and then 2 days later you felt not back to square one, but a kind of shock that it kind of comes back.
Yeah, it's been a very emotional road. Yeah, you just think that things are going in the right direction, and then you find that you can't walk 100 yards again, and you can't sit comfortably. The pain has never come back, but I have had periods where I've felt I was going backwards, but they don't last long. They don't last long. And the sciatic pain that I had, I think that started to ease easily within 3 weeks. I mean, it took a lot longer for it to go completely, but within 3 weeks, it was definitely, and I could lay down more comfortably, definitely within 3 weeks.
That's really interesting. And would you say like getting that small bit of relief early has helped you like kind of stick with it and have hope going forward?
Yeah, I think so, because I could see that we were onto something. We were achieving a lot more than I've achieved with any of the osteopaths or chiropractors or physiotherapists or acupuncturists or anybody that I've seen over the last 4 years. And I was seeing multiple people every week. I was just so desperate. I mean, literally had multiple appointments a week to try and find the person who could understand what I was going through. You know, you go to those places and you're just another person. You walk in, you have your appointment, and you go away for a week, and they're thinking about someone else. But you know, it's always you know, it's apparent that you're thinking about what I'm going through, even when I'm not here, because you're always coming up with things. I know you're always there in the background, which is really comforting.
Oh, that's great to hear. You know, and I remember, I don't know if it was 6 weeks or 2 months, I got an email that was of somewhat desperation of, I just want to be able to sit. And, you know, to be honest, I get emails like that a bunch, and I don't always have an immediate answer, right? Of more than just like, you know, patience and hang in there. So even in that moment, like 2 months later, there was still frustration. And then it's weird because there wasn't any particular thing we did that all of a sudden made the sitting better, right? Or do you think there was something that clicked in for the sitting?
I think the constructive rest pose that we've been doing all the way through this is the one major thing that has helped everything. It's really loosened up my back, and you know, I can slouch on the sofa now. I might still be a bit crooked, but I'm slouching and I'm comfortable in my crooked position. Whereas before, I couldn't slouch, and everyone has to slouch sometimes.
Totally. No, and it's interesting, like you had said, how you would go out to see people and they would see you sitting and automatically like give you pillows and try to help. And that's actually kind of frustrating, right?
It's really frustrating because they were always trying to help me find a comfortable position. And I knew that there was nothing that anyone could do at that particular point that would make me comfortable. It just wasn't possible. But, you know, we were putting off going on trips because I couldn't sit in the car. I couldn't sit on an aeroplane. I couldn't explore if we were going to a city. You know, I couldn't explore because I couldn't walk. I couldn't relax by the pool because I couldn't relax.
Right.
And, you know, we've been away a few times in the last couple of months, and I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah, and you've coming back from a week-long vacation where I'm not sure exactly, but you worked pretty hard, right? You worked with a personal trainer and got a lot of work in.
We went to a fitness retreat, partly so that my husband has something that he could throw himself into, because, you know, he's been as frustrated as I have at not being able to go anywhere. So we went to this fitness retreat, and we each had a personal trainer, and they were fantastic. And mine really listened to my problems and helped me work to strengthen up, you know, because I've been crooked and twisted for so long. My muscles are all over the place, and he's really helped to build my core, build on the weak muscles, and I feel much better again since coming home. So that was really fantastic. And I wouldn't have considered that in, you know, 5 months ago. There's no way I would have gone, but I was able to absolutely throw myself into it 100%. And he worked me really hard.
That's really great. You know, one thing I don't think a lot of people realize about pain issues is what it does to the people around you, right? Like your spouse and your friends and your siblings, and how difficult it becomes because they don't necessarily relate, but they can see how you're suffering, and it has a really big effect on them.
Yeah, and they feel so useless.
Yeah, that's really intense. So I love hearing, because, you know, so walking remains the thing, the back spasm when walking remains like the final frontier that we're still working on. And you have better days and not such better days, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it is basically a lot better than it was. I can, I like to go out and walk 3 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles. I want to be able to go and do 10 miles without thinking about it. And I'm lucky if I can do. I probably could do 6, but I can do 3 sort of fairly comfortably,
That's so great.
depending on the day. But I am definitely more comfortable walking. In fact, there was a day last week while I was away when I was walking and everything was normal. It was
So
absolutely
great.
normal. The next day it wasn't. But there was a day, and I haven't had that in a long time. My back is so much looser. My whole body is looser. I don't hurt anymore. I don't ache.
So great. And we've talked about how, projecting into the future, like there's going to become, hopefully there comes a day where you go, oh my God, like it's been a couple of months and I haven't even thought about this stuff that occupied so much of my time. That's a hope.
Yeah, and it really has occupied every minute of my waking day for 4 years.
Yeah.
And now, as I said, I forget to exercise in the morning because I
That is so great. And
it's not on my mind.
And it's not like you don't like exercising. You are someone who's actually been incredibly active and fit your whole life.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It is who I am. I have to be active. I have to be doing something, and usually sort of fairly extreme. I've always really pushed myself in whatever I've done. So to not be able to do that it's just been hell, really, absolute hell. But I've been to the gym this morning on my own. So yeah, no, it's all good.
That's so great. You mentioned constructive rest. Constructive rest is my favorite pose. For whatever reason, the last like 5 or 6 days, I am having crazy dreams and not sleeping well. And this morning, I really like sleep, but I got annoyed. Like I woke up exhausted, even though I slept, and I just got out of bed. I rolled out of bed and came to my office and did constructive rest for 15 minutes. And it's just this amazing thing where I was like, oh, okay, I can now start my day. So it's amazing that one little thing, and it's not the only thing, obviously, but that one little thing
is the only thing.
The thing that gets us started on the road to healing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so we'll finish with it. You do have hope, right? That it is possible that it's, after 4 years, it might all pass.
I'm ever the optimist, but I am certain that it will go completely, and I will be able to get on with my life properly, do the things I want to do.
Your optimism is part of this, and I would mention that I haven't mentioned it in a while, I don't think, but how even after 4 years, you were demoralized emotionally, but you weren't completely. Like you still had a smile, and you hadn't given up completely, and you were trying so hard. And that is actually part of, I think, the healing, like the ability to have an ounce of positivity after such a long time of pain is really, to me, amazing.
I feel like I didn't have any choice, though. What was my choice? I couldn't curl up in a ball in the corner because I physically couldn't curl up in a ball.
Totally. Yeah.
So, and I always believe that unless you have some awful disease, I do believe that there is a solution to, any mobility problem, really. And I know that I have nothing skeletally wrong.
Right.
So it was just a matter of finding the key.
And that's a frustration unto itself, right? Where you're told you have nothing skeletally wrong, and yet, so you're being sort of told, like, I don't know what's going on because you're fine, when it's very clear you're not fine.
Yeah. Well, you've seen me in yoga, and even from the very beginning, I've been able to
Oh,
do everything you've thrown at me.
right.
Um, but then I wouldn't be able to sit still or lie still or walk. But I can do anything, any exercise that's given to me. I can put my body wherever I want it to be. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And it's been, it's a signaling thing from my brain after all these years. The incorrect messages are being sent, and it's just a case of keeping my movement as correct as I can for as much of the time as I can to retrain the brain. So that's sort of where we're going now.
Yeah, it's great. So, and where I start with everybody really is just basic posture and walking. When we started with the posture, did you think, like in the very beginning, did you have doubt, or did it make sense to you, or was it really odd and frustrating?
Um, it was odd and frustrating that I couldn't do it, but I had no doubt that I would get there.
Right.
But it was difficult. I couldn't put my body where it needed to be, and it wasn't going to happen overnight. It wasn't going to happen in a month.
Right.
But it is happening. I'm still working on it, and it's still not right, but it's something I think about often during the day.
Yeah, and look, patience is so hard to cultivate, and from my end, it can be really frustrating to just have to like repeat as a mantra, be patient,
Yeah,
because everyone wants results and we want them quick. And you were getting that benefit from constructive rest pretty quickly, but still not fully. So that the journey is really fascinating. And it's a 9-month program. And I remember, I don't know if it was like a month ago, you were like, oh, okay, that's why it's 9 months.
yeah, yeah,
Because some people think really it takes 9 months, but in a way, I say if you've been in pain for 4 years, why wouldn't it take nine
yeah,
months? Not even more.
absolutely.
No, and I love it. I thank you for having this conversation. I really look forward to one day getting an email from you going, oh my God, I have not thought about what I went through for a really long time. So
I'll send you a message when I've hiked up through a mountain range.
that's right. That's really great. All right, Jill, thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan. Bye.
Bye-bye.